I'm Chad Ikes. This is Courage Barbell. Today, I want to talk about wrist position in terms of flexion and extension and where you should actually be. I see a lot of people that are bent way far into extension, and it has a huge impact on your bench and how much you're going to bench. So basically what we're looking at is we have this bone structure of our radius and our ulna in the forearm, and we want to keep the pressure of that bar running straight down. So if I have my bar in here and I'm right here, it's running straight down over that bone. If I go too far in flexion, now that bar is up here. If I go too far in extension, now the bar is down here. And I'm talking in terms of like benching like this. See, if I'm here, the weight comes here. If I'm back here, now the weight's back here. A lot of times I say, you don't punch anybody like this. You don't punch anybody like this. You punch them like this, because you want a straight line through the forearm and through the whole bone to get all that power, all that force into your opponent. Now, when we have a bar in our hand, it changes it a little bit because the force doesn't need to be here. The force needs to be straight into the bar here. So that's why there's that little bit of extension. But then all the force is over this bone structure. And if you're in this right place underneath, straight over this bone, it's going to allow the whole body to find that right position to where you can stay underneath the main force of that bar and push it up easily and control the weight more easily, where you don't have the weight trying to dump on you, or you don't have the weight trying to flare up over your head. And if you're here and you move this weight here, then your elbow is going to, your body's always going to try to get under the bar because it knows the balance and it wants to balance it. So here in a second, I'm going to cut and we're going to go to a different angle where I'm going to try to explain this a little bit better with this little pendulum weight right here. And just to have a simple gravitational lesson, when you have a pendulum weight like this, there's probably a proper name to it, but I'll be damned if I can remember it. This right here is always going to pull to the core, the heaviest core of the earth. So this is always going to pull to the center of the earth no matter where we move it. So it's always going to give me a straight line of gravity. Where is the weight pulling down from this bar and all these plates that are on here when you're benching? So with that, I'm going to do a side angle, and you'll be able to see exactly when I go like this and when I go like this and how much difference it actually makes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to that, and then we'll come back and do a little recap. So as you can see, I have a string with a pendulum weight on the end of it. So it will be showing us the line of gravity where the weight is basically trying to take itself back to the center of the earth. As you can see, I have my forearms in a slight extension position, this is what we're looking for, a neutral grip, and I have my hands rooted. So my elbows are in just a little bit. I'm twisting against my thumb, and you can see that that line is pulling pretty much straight down my forearm. I got a little fly bug in me. And this is a really strong, good position. Now, if I go into flexion, as I go into flexion, you can see that line go in front of my forearms, which we definitely don't want, because with any heavy weight, you're going to dump this bar. One of the common mistakes that I see is too much extension. And I don't even have a lot of extension. I see guys that bench with way worse wrists than this. And you can see how far that line is now in front of my forearm, up towards my head. And what this is doing, that means that the pull straight down now is almost in front of my shoulder from the looks of it in this position. And what this is also going to do is this is going to make my elbow is going to want to come out to try and get back underneath this bar. And once we bench with this one, we're going to bench and come down. When we go to push, there's going to be a little bit of flexion in that bent, weak wrist. So some force is going to want to drive this bar back. And even when I'm driving up, even with just the empty bar, the force wants to drive it back over my head because it's continually falling down, and the center of this gravity, my body's trying to get it back over the shoulders where it's stable. If I turn up here, and that line is directly over my forearm, As I come down, my elbows and my forearms stay under the bar really strong and really nice. And I can push straight up with an easy pattern right into back where I need to be. And I don't have to worry about the weight trying to take me forward or take me lower, and everything is in line really good. I'll do that again. I have good control. Everything goes exactly where I want it. My elbows stay under the bar. Drives up nice and smooth. Okay guys, so you just saw that video. I demonstrated exactly how it changes the wrist flexion or extensions, changes where the bar is actually going to pull. And I demonstrated how when you're too high, it's going to try to pull the bar up. If you're too low, it'll try to pull it down. It's going to just mess up the whole mechanics of the bench press. We need to remember, just like in the squat, we talk about rooting our feet. And that's a little bit different because we're rooting into the ground. But essentially now we have our back against the ground and we're trying to push against this bar. So it's just as important that we use our hand right and root our hand correctly so that everything else ties into place. When we root our feet, we stack our ankles, we get all our bones and everything lined up in the strongest, best position. Well, we want to do the exact same thing in the bench. So I'm going to shoot another video after this where I'm going to talk about placement in the actual hand. But you know, when you're rooting, you want to get your grip against this bar and you're going to twist against your thumb. And you're going to, I'm not a big fan of, I don't like wrapping my fingers all the way around the bar because that tends to make you want to go in a really straight position. What I like to do is get my hand in here, twist and root against that thumb and this pinky, and then I just kind of let my fingers go right here. And what I will do is I'll push against the bar. So if you can see, I'm not wrapped all the way around squeezing the bar. I'm here on top of the bar and I'm squeezing my fingers into the bar because the actual act of squeezing kind of helps tighten everything up and it gets this wrist straight. And if you come in here and you get your wrist at that bend, that little bit of extension that you want, and then you twist against your thumb, and now you wrap your fingers in here, that alone will make your wrist super strong. That little bit of torque right in there helps lock that wrist in. You won't see me wear wraps. If you follow my Instagram, you won't see me wear wraps very often in my training. Normally not until I get around 500 or above, which I haven't done recently in a while. And even when I'm shirting and going heavy, I still wait till about 5 or 6 before I put my wraps on because my wrist is locked in and really straight. The only thing I'm using wraps for is a little extra support, and when it gets that heavy to take a little stress off the ligaments and the tendons. But I want the ligaments and tendons strong, so I try not to wear my wraps too much. And if you get in here and you lock against that, and you get that little twist, that little bit of twist right there, it locks that forearm, that wrist, into place where it can't hardly bend. So as long as you stay in that root, and that root's going the whole time. So you root here, drop the shoulder blades down, drop the lats down, or depress the shoulders with the lats, and then you're going to come in here, and the whole time you're trying to root. Like I'm thinking about taking my bench from here to here to here. So the whole time I'm twisting and twisting. If you're obviously on my YouTube channel right now, if you're watching this, there's an older video I did with a piece of PVC, how to train that root of those hands. And it's a really great exercise to do to get used to doing that and keeping that root all the time. All right, guys, that was a pretty simple video. It's a pretty simple thing, but this can have a huge effect on your bench. Just be aware, if you've benched for years and years and years with your wrist bent, this is going to be something that's going to take a little bit of time and it's going to take some work. Be patient, keep hammering at it, and I guarantee you in the long run, you're going to be way better and you're going to end up with a way heavier bench than you would if you didn't do it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please like this channel, subscribe this channel. If you know other lifter buddies that could use some of these tips, please turn them on to the channel. Follow me on Chad Ike's Instagram, and I will talk to you guys later. Hey guys, I got a little dragonfly right there in for the shoot.